Testing. Oh, yeah, we got audio. What's going on? What is going on? What is going on? So what I'm going to start doing is, from the last couple streams, I kept programming movement stuff, and then I did more off stream, and I still haven't checked any of it in. So to start off, I'm going to get toward being able to check things in, which is probably going to involve fixing both of these things. So there's this frame thing that we're doing. Remember, I made this comment before. Right, like we're calling this update theta current, which gets information from the animation player. And the problem is this data may be a frame late, easily. Probably is a frame late. I think what I'm going to do let's see if we have an integer representing the current frame. And then we can use that to record what's the last frame we updated the animation player. Current frame index. There we go. So here's what we could do. We could say, we could go here. Oh no. Okay. If e dot last updated animation on frame index is equal to frame index return. Okay, and I'm going to leave a big comment here. We call update animation from the normal sim loop, but we also call it from the transaction system in order to incorporate animation deltas. Oh, this isn't going to work. This is not going to work because this isn't per frame. This is like we call our animation multiple times per frame potentially. So if I have a flag of once per frame, see, this is a problem because this is a problem. Have I left the house today? No. Have I seen Casey's programming stream? No. Well, I saw like 10 seconds of it. All right. I'm not sure what to do here. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to promote this or demote this to a less critical bug. This can never cause us to run incorrectly, but it's not good. But the thing is, if I tie things in knots, like we're still getting the system to the point where it's like visually acceptable to ship in terms of just general how many graphical subsystems there are and all this stuff. And in the process of continuing that, we may change the structure a bit. So if I do a lot of convoluted things to fix this relatively minor issue that depend on the current structure, I might have to undo them and redo them later. It might make the current structure more complicated and harder to do. So what I'm just going to do is postpone this. I'm going to say need to fix animation frame lag. And I'm just going to put that in the to-do list. I don't know, just like down here somewhere. From animation player, but it is probably 1 frame late. However, we can't selectively, we can't optionally and it's not true that we can't. So we might optionally update the animation player from the sim loop if and only if it hasn't already been updated from this frame. So we would update it in compute animation in update later. Current also opportunistically. This is also messy, like if you want to thread the animation, which you could do, like then this makes that annoying. But it's not totally simple since we call each of these things multiple times per frame with substep DT values. So also, what if we want to parallelize the animation updates later on? Question mark. Okay, this is just something that we're going to have to think about more seriously, but we can actually wait. As long as we realize that this is in our code, we're okay. The problem is like when you don't even know what the problems are. Well, I mean, it's a problem to have the problem, but it's way worse to not know that you have the problem. Okay, testing. Is it better now? Fixed. Okay, well, this is computers in the year 2020. You can't really expect anything to work. Now, I don't know if the reason that happened is because I launched a different piece of software or not. So let's see what happens when I run the game again. Okay, how's this? Is this okay? Still fine. All right. Well, oh, by the way, since the previous stream, I of course have done actual more work. So we now have smooth turning on stacks of stuff. Hopefully you can see this in OBS smoothly. Let me see what it looks like. Yeah, so you can see that happening. Well, it gets choppy when I run. I don't know. I have to downgrade OBS to a previous version that actually worked, but you get the idea. Okay, oh, whoops. Let's go to, I wanted to modify that level, but I exited the game. All right. Bam, bam. We're gonna just move these over here in case we need them, and we are gonna get a little friendly dragon. And that's gonna be there. We're gonna run this level, and we're gonna grab him. Okay, so what's supposed to happen is he ends up turned toward me. See how he kind of does that, but then teleports back. I'm not sure why he teleports back. He like always faces to the right, which is weird. Let's look at what the transaction is. Following. I didn't realize I have a transaction type called following. Well, I mean, I must have realized it when I added it, but it's been so long. So following, we say update following position, but then the thing, yeah. Let's go back to Friendly Dragon for a second. So, okay, when we wake him up, he's supposed to turn in our direction, right? Let me Control-Alt-Shift-G that. Yeah, so it's facing the right way. So the Friendly Dragon's a little confusing because it's got this giant long body that gets curled up only when the animation system is active, which only happens during gameplay. So, wait, why didn't the dragon even turn that time? That was weird. Like sometimes it turns and then, like why did it turn to face away? That was weird. Okay. So the theta is 90, the theta target is 90, which are correct. Oh no, it's not. I was looking at the wrong one. That was for the guy. For the dragon, the theta target is 0. Which is weird. Okay, that code I was looking at was the breadcrumb code anyway, which is different. We're going to have to test all this stuff. So maybe follow, we say boring interpolation. We don't say, Wait, I've got boring interpolation. Okay. Wait, what? I'm confused now. Oh, that's a move info. Okay, so that makes sense. Boring is a move info. We set the move type. We call add move, which creates a single move structure, which is what we need in order to turn. And then we say turn toward. So this turn toward should be setting the theta target. On the move. Except well, let's just make a debug build. Start up a Visual Studio. Okay, so the things we have to test are better. Maybe there's just something flaky in the microphone. Okay. So we've got a list of behaviors on the friendly dragon that we have to test. One is when he's following you around. I'm going to call it also take drop. That's when he starts and stops following you. Swapping places with you. Eating gems kind of behavior, which is a whole thing. And breadcrumb, which is when it's like trying to catch up to you because you're teleporting around. Okay, so now what? Whoops, I wanted my debug build there. All right, so we're going to run in Visual Studio. We're going to stop here because I'm kind of wondering, like, what's the deal? What is the deal, bro? So we're going to go, I guess here, and we're going to go north one, and he's going to follow. Okay, so the delta is 0, 1. That is not the direction he's going, but it's the direction that he wants to turn toward, because I'm north of him. He's going to move to the right. So like, if we look at this, if we look at boring, which is an interpolation that goes over one square, it goes from 7, 9 to 8, 9. So he's moving to the right one, right, along the x-axis, but then he's also turning to face north, supposedly. So let's look at the single move, which is supposed to have the turning information in it. And we did this in one of the previous streams, so this should all be fine. Oh, well, we haven't called turn toward yet. So that's fine. So when we step into turn toward, well, delta is fine. Theta is, well, this is in radians, but this will be in degrees. Desired theta target is 90 with a little bit of hair on it, which honestly we should fix at some point. Now that's so weird. Like, does Atan2 just... Okay, what's going on is Atan2 just sucks in Visual Studio Land. Or no, I guess it's this multiplication. Yeah, okay, it's this. There's no Atan2 in degrees, right? So what we really should do is like clamp degrees here. Yeah, anyway, this should be exactly 90. It's not, but that doesn't really matter for current purposes. Okay, so we're going to say turn toward on this, right? Yep, that's all fine. So we set turning on this. And we set the theta target. That should be all that's necessary. I should have slowed down time. All right. Let's go back here for a second. I'm going to slow down time and we're going to look at the thing. So it's following, but it claims the theta target is 0. Let's see if it's like, let's see if it's ever non-zero for like 1 frame. Oh, we're not going to see if it's 1 frame. It claims it's 0. Now my question is, I don't remember when we're printing this out. So it's obviously turning toward 90. Is that in following? Does following have its own old turn thing? Doesn't look like it's doing anything with turning there. And then down here we do update theta current on this thing. So like when we draw this 90, 0, is that the entity's theta target or is that the move transaction's theta target? Let's see, that's in moves HUD, thetas, E.theta current, E.theta target. So the entity's theta target, okay, this is fine. On the transaction, it's saying that theta target is 90, but it's never getting set on the entity. So why not? Because I messed this code up. Okay, so this is saying, look, if we're turning, do this thing. But then when I was adding the support stuff, I said, hey, only if it's index 0, which is the primary mover, right? Then you do this support stuff. But that's actually, this condition should only be around this. it shouldn't be around this. And honestly, we actually could get rid, okay. So this can go here, and in fact, this can go here. So we say if because a transaction can have many motions in it. In this particular thing that we're doing where we're walking around and the dragon is following us, you know, my red guy here is actually the primary mover, and then the dragon movement is just a transaction that's getting tacked on to the end. So hopefully this fixes that. Yep. Okay, so now he's following us and he's staying pointed in the right direction, which is great. And you know, that turn away from you, let's actually, see that's really fast right now. Boop. It could be 3 times as long. Let's edit that. So I actually did recently, in an earlier stream, I was adding a bunch of no check-ins for hard-coded durations, and then I made, we had all these times in the middle of like gameplay visuals, which didn't make sense. So I made this thing called move times. And, oops, let me go to Friendly Dragon for a sec. So this is like, we turn away from the player delta, right? Oh, we don't control the turning rate. Wait, yes we do. Hold on. I remember that, okay, wait. In the, beam turn long. Remember we kind of did this on the stream? I actually, you know, I named the variable, but we had a hard-coded thing here that's like if we were turning far. Oh, but that's just, okay, that's not controlling the speed of turning. It's just saying make the transaction longer so we don't cut it off. So we don't actually have a way to make this turn slower yet, so I'm not going to worry about it. That's a thing we can do later. We would just add more information onto this single move that says like, well, here's the speed or something. But maybe we want more than a simple linear speed, right? Maybe we want a style thing. Or honestly, in this case, we probably want this to be an animation because it has a lot more character. So then maybe we don't need a speed because if the animation is controlling turning, then it controls the speed implicitly. Rotating before moving to the next cell. Well, I mean, look, what it should be to be maximally nice, I don't know, right? I'm just making it work. So right now what happens is he simultaneously turns, he's simultaneously turning and facing the character, right? He could just walk straight ahead and then turn. And that might be better, I don't know. But that's something we would experiment with later. Right now our job is just to get this system working so we can check it in and to not necessarily rat hole on changing old behaviors, right? You have to have discipline when you're working on games. Okay, that was a swap, and with the swap, he's changing position correctly, but then he's like not rotating. And so again, that might be an animation thing later. But we want to, It might be an animation thing now. Let's just see. So we do the boring interpolation, and we do the turn toward. I don't know why that's different. Well, the move type is different. It's linear interpolation this time. The reason swap is a different thing, by the way, is just probably because we want to play a different animation, maybe on both characters. So it makes sense to have the gameplay state be different. So this one's weird. This one could be marked as animation controlled. No, it's just state walking. Did I finish yesterday night game? No. No. Okay. Well, what do we do here? Do I bother debugging this? This is another one of these things where I'm like, it's a very small cosmetic thing. We're going to put in its own animation for it later. Let me see. Yeah, we can't really use follow for this. So why? So the main thing that's different between swap and not swap is just that it's linear interpolation movement type. And I don't see why that would make a difference. Shouldn't. They should still turn. So in this case, it seems like the opposite. In this case, it seems like we're setting the theta on the entity. But not in the middle. It's the opposite of our other problem. Why would we be doing that? Let's look at update theta current. Oh, it's in this other file. I think we're just going to have to look at this. I want to know what's going on. Going to make a debug build again. It's also strange when you turn right, the dragon uses a specific animation. Whatever. Dude, don't worry about any of that stuff. None of that stuff matters right now. It's all fine. Like, it's probably animation data that doesn't exist or isn't being used or whatever, don't worry about it. This is not what we're working on. Again, you have to have discipline or you'll never get anything done. Okay, so when I do this, boom, right? So what I want to do is do a breakpoint in the middle of the thing in update theta current and make sure it happens for both entities. The problem is that's going to trigger for the guy and the dragon, and we have to make sure that we're doing the right one. So all right, so I can check this. Whoops, it's the other way around. So this is the warrior, that's the wrong one. This is the dragon, okay. So what is theta current? Minus 176. What is theta target? Minus 1. Maybe we're just setting the values wrong? This move, visual start 7,9, going to 6,9. So he's going left by 1 square. Theta start, then theta target. So we're actually turning to the wrong direction. Oh, duh, because delta is the way that we're going, so we want to say delta times minus 1. Okay, that was amazing. So, you know, that probably wasn't that much worth fixing right now because it's something that that we could fix later when all this implementation detail changes. But sometimes the reason that you fix things like that is to make sure that there isn't a worse problem, right? If there was some problem in the system, we have to fix it. But by identifying that the problem was just a sign, you know, this looks stupid, right? We're going to want to do something much better in the actual game. But what it'll be is it'll be a swap animation that has the turning baked in. So yeah. Is it just you or Sun text a bit blurry? Dude, the stream is getting downscaled to 1080p, so all text is going to be blurry. It's like half, it's shrunk down to half size for you. All right. Great. Swapping done. Let's do take drop. I think those work fine. Is this pie game? Well, you know, so he turns toward me when I pick him up and away from me when I drop him. And the timings on those are screwy, but again, we'll do it later, right? We'll do it live. Okay. There is a problem here. He's like a frame delayed or something again. Maybe not. Maybe that's just the animation sloshing him around. We'll look at it. We'll deal with it when we do the real thing. Okay, take drop is fine. Now we have to practice breadcrumbs or test breadcrumbs. So like, if I make this a teleport beam, and well, we could do this. Just do that. All right, so we get this guy and we go over here. Whoa! Oh, because it's alter endpoint. Oh, bro. All right. All right, that makes sense. Let's just do that. I was like, what happened? Oh, yeah, that's what happened. All right, fine. That was a game mechanic that you probably don't know, but that's okay. So I'm going to run away from this dragon and... Yeah, so he's not turning as he follows his little path there, right? So I'm going to slow it down, and he's supposed to follow in my footsteps, and he's doing that. Okay, I don't know why that gem got pushed in the wrong directions by me. That was really weird. All right. Like, what even happened there? I don't even know how to reproduce that. I should have looked at that assertion, honestly, but I didn't because I'm a bad person. So the dragon is correctly following my path that I went on. Gives me a level idea. Did I get the OBS stuttering fixed? No. It's software from the year 2020, so why would you expect it to work? Pusher single is not equal to single. All right. That's not good. Well, I think one of the things we're going to do today is just go through the game and look at transaction system errors that happen in all the levels. In fact, as soon as we check in, that's what we're going to start doing. So hopefully that kind of a thing will happen. In fact, let's log though, because this is an assert, so it won't happen in release build. We'll say if how am I reporting things? We're saying log print, movement, visuals, error, update pushed position with pushed item being single move sub 0. All right, so then I would guess that some of our levels tests will trigger this, and then we'll see what the deal is. Okay, so now though, so we have to go to the breadcrumb motion in Friendly Dragon, and we just have to put some turn towards. So breadcrumbs are just, that's how it follows the path that you went on. It finds the little breadcrumbs in the world. So we add a move, right? And so we're still adding the move, but now we're going to grab the variable, right? And we're just going to add a turn toward. And what are our arguments there? The move, the dragon, and the direction. Like that. That should be it. How can you maintain the engine and the language at the same time? You gotta lift. I mean, if you don't even lift, then obviously you can't do those things, right? All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. Oh, I forgot to save out the level after fixing the thing that would make me not drown. Let's save it. All right. And then we'll slow down time. If I could slow down time. All right, so the dragon is turning as he moves along the path, so this is all good. We'll speed up time again. And then once he gets to me, then he's in follow mode. Yeah, great. So that's good. All right, so we have one more case, which is this one, which probably also doesn't work. We might have to crunch some bitmaps. Okay, this one is when I put gems in this little guy's dog bowl. Even though this guy looks different, this is the baby version of the same guy that we've been working on. His animations probably have turning built in, though, which makes it a little more complicated, but if I put things in his dog bowl, he'll go get them. Right? So we'll just let him get bored. He's waiting for more food, but if he gets bored, he'll just go off again. Yeah. So definitely, like when he turns around like that, we could use more animation transitions and stuff, because that 180 turn didn't look good. But I think that's just, you know, either we're not sending the right animation message, or, you know, oh, this is where he goes. He's going into like an intermediate thing where he's expectantly waiting for more food a little bit further away. And then once we go through that for a little bit, he will sort of start wandering around the room eventually. We are because we're in debug build on a big map, we're at a little bit of a degraded frame rate, so time is moving a little slower. We could speed that up. Maybe. You can start to see the camera motion be more wobbly. He's not going into that mode. Buddy. Oh, well, maybe I had to wake him up by stepping on him. So this thing that says collision whatever, we shouldn't report an error in that case, because it's actually fine. So we should take out that error. Maybe it was just he waits a really long time because I'm stepping on him and nothing's happening. So let's fix that. So that was just a thing because when we added the transaction system, we wanted to be paranoid about making sure. Oh, I added things for this, but I accidentally said not equal. Actually, friendly dragon can be in a square with anything. We're not going to worry about it for now. There's sort of a reason why I said if not guy, but it's not that good of a reason. Yeah, I think we just have to wait. This guy just sits in this mode for a long time, which is longer because our frame rate is slow. Why does time move slow at 15 FPS? No, it shouldn't be more resilient than that. It's a long story. I don't want to get into it right now. If you try to make your time steps too big, then you'll introduce gameplay bugs. Let's put it that way. Okay, so I think that's fine, and that's all our no check-ins. Oh, well, that reinstate this functionality, which we're fine with now. So let's update the game because we haven't updated it in a long time. And we want to make sure there's no conflicts with what we're going to check in. And then when that's done, we will we'll check in. You're saying that time shouldn't move slow. That's not right. Why are you guys effing? What's going on? Big lag. You know, my internet connection has been kind of bad with occasional stalls, and I assume that's just because everyone's actually using their internet connection now or whatever. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. All right, so we got a bunch of stuff here. Yeah. All right, so we are good. I think we're going to check in. Now that said, we're probably going to break some levels. So, you know, way back like a month ago or whatever, when I ran a Benny test, I have the thing here. We were failing 32 levels. Now I think we're failing like 80 something levels. Let's check in, and then I'll show you one of them. Check in of move transaction stuff. Many levels probably break. Tests again in the process of fixing this. So, yeah. So, there's at least one level that I know is broken in an amusing way, which is this one. And as long as this one's broken, there's no point in doing a Benny test because like 10 levels are broken at least. So with this one, this is a level where, you know, there's a dragon breathing fire, and it's supposed to kill one of these goblins per move. But what's going to happen is as soon as I move my green thief, they're all going to just get burned down one by one. Well, we were laggy because of loading animations, so let's do it again. Bam, bam, bam. See how it's just going? And that's because, you know, we changed all this move transaction logic, and a problem that slipped in now is that when we do a dragon breath and it completes, we're like kicking off another dragon breath. So that ruins this gameplay mechanic, and we have to fix it. Oh, there's a raid. What's up? What's up, people? How's it going? We're just doing things like we do sometimes. How was your stream? We are working on movement stuff. So when you're programming games, one thing that happens sometimes is your game kind of works, but it doesn't work as well as you want it to. And in order to make it work as well as you want it to, you have to do some really gross you have to basically, it's like if you have a house and like, I don't know, I've never owned a house, but you know, you have to go and like rip all the stuff out of the walls and put new wiring in or something, and it's a lot of work, and then at the end you have wiring again, right? Or plumbing, probably plumbing is better because that's more annoying, right? At the end you have running water just like you had at the beginning, it just works better and doesn't leak, right? And so that's what we've been doing on this game with regard to moving players around. So we have this amusing problem now where this dragon is supposed to breathe 1 square per turn, but I move my guy and he just keeps killing everybody, which is amusing, but not right for gameplay. So I'm going to look at that, and we're going to hope it's not that annoying to fix, but it might be. Yeah, the fire effect that you see and all that, this is all temporary. So this level is not what this game looks like. Let's show you what the game kind of looks like for real. It might take a sec. There we go. So this is more like the style of the game. It's just that levels like the one that we were just on are just in design phase and not in, you know, visual phase. Or we could go to some other stuff. We could go to like an island level, like, whoops, like these. This is a different setting. So this is more like what the game is going to look like, although even these levels are not final either. So when we're in a really gritty level, like when we're in a level like this, you could just sort of imagine what this will look like when it gets that kind of visual treatment that's being applied to those other levels, right? Are the islands shaders or meshes? Well, let me show you. So these islands, they're a mixture of a bunch of pieces laid over the top of each other. So, well, let's start with this. This is just a gameplay object, right? So, you know, that's obvious. It's like a thing, right? All these bushes are individual. Well, you know, so like that's one thing, right? So part of the style is that we use objects to sort of help align the grid squares, because it's a grid-based puzzle game. So if you put a bunch of decorations that cross grid squares, you could end up confusing playability, right? And so, for example, we use things like little bushes and flowers. They can be freely positioned anywhere, right? But we use them to, you know, you could put one in the middle of a square like this if you wanted to, but we do not do that because that's not our style, right? And then with regard to the terrain itself, it's a bunch of different pieces interlapping, and then with decals and stuff. So like, here's a big chunk of land that's just in the middle there, and then you see all these other pieces around it, like this thing, and then, so like this is a big chunk, this is like a medium chunk, these are like little chunks, and you lay those on top of each other, and they make more interesting shapes. Again, none of this here is final. In fact, we could go to like, you know, here's a different style using the same techniques. So again, we have like big chunk or moderate sized chunk, you know, And we make the islands out of these things. And then there should be some decals, but maybe I have to go into decal mode. I don't remember how this works. We changed things a few times recently, and I don't ever edit. Let me see, decal, select all. Okay, so this thing that I'm moving around is like the decal layer where you can project around. There's some way of stamping these down that I don't remember what the controls are, right? But without adding extra geometry, you can just sort of, you know, yeah. And so there's some brush that you can get out where you can like stamp these around. Let me, or I guess they're also selectable as individual objects. So like here's one individual one, and of course I could copy and paste that if I wanted to, you know. You sort of have sorting issues a little bit if you drop them all on top of each other or whatever. Anyway, the lines in the water are also temporary. We'll do a better job at that later. Is there a reason for an island setting? Yes, it is gameplay. It is gameplay. Okay, so let's get back to actual work and figure out what's going on here. Let's make sure we're in debug build. And so the function there is in this file, or I think it's in just Sokoban, and it's called evaluate goblins and dragons. And we're just looking, where is it? Okay, it's here. So this is the thing that causes the dragon breath to propagate and all that. And so what I'm going to do, I don't want the first one of those because the first one is correct. It's like the later ones. So I'm going to slow down time, right, a lot. And then we'll move our character. Whoops, that's an old breakpoint that we had. So I'm moving our character. And now the dragon breath is going, right? You see it's like the particles are fading in and it's hitting the monsters. So anytime now that we go to evaluate goblins and dragons is a mistake. It shouldn't be happening. So we'll just set a breakpoint there now, and we'll speed up time again. And now we hit it. So we're there. We're in post-move reevaluate, which happens at the end of every move. It says do monsters, right? That's a variable that we pass this. That's true. Why is it true? Well, because we said so. Why did we say so? Because our transaction has this caused change flag or supports to update. Yeah, so I'm not sure why we're saying supports to update. That's an interesting one. Let's check that. Let's check if that's correct or not. It could be that this if statement is not right. Or it could be that we're getting this back and shouldn't. Okay, what? Let's see what the transaction says first. This thing has an array of like all the moves that are happening. There's just one. It's an object being stationary, and it's a monster playing its, or no, it's probably the dragon breathing, honestly. So what I suspect is that actually update supports or do physical moves is giving us too many things back. Let's see. Okay. So supports to update. What supports to update means is like, hey, if somebody moved in space and anything else is like riding on that thing, we have to move the riding objects as well and maybe do some other stuff. And right now it looks like we do that for everything. And so instead, I think, so I actually remember a couple days ago editing some if statement up here and rearranging the loop. And so that probably introduced this bug. Okay. So now if something is just stationary, it shouldn't say that it needs to update its support. That said, that won't necessarily, like other things could cause this problem too, but let's see. Okay, no, there we go. That's what's supposed to happen. So I move one square, the dragon breathes once and kills the first goblin. I move another square, the dragon breathes again, the breath bounces off the mirror, kills the next goblin. I move another square, etc., right? So now if I play back the gameplay playback, this is going to stall a little bit because this is debug build and I need to figure out, it's like very choppy. You can't really see it. I need to figure out why we're so slow in debug build, honestly. Let's make a release build just so that you can see that. It'll take about 30 seconds to optimize, just so you can see what that looks like. Are there any questions about what's going on? Can I restart the entire stream? Yeah. The thing about Twitch is people ask that every 2 minutes. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's just do the thing. Okay. The sound effects are a little overpowering there. But anyway, so you can see, let's turn down the speed. So this will be a sped up test, but still maybe easier to follow. All right, let's turn it to 4. So the sound on this level is very, this level, just like it hasn't gotten a graphical treatment, it hasn't gotten an audio treatment. So it doesn't sound nice at all right now. It's just got the generic gameplay sounds that we're working on. Am I using an SSD? Yes. The init time looks big. The game isn't done. When a video game isn't done, it often does not perform at the level of a video game that is done. I'm sorry, but that's my number one pet peeve is people asking me, like, sorry, I didn't realize that would be that loud. That's my number one pet peeve is like, oh, why is the frame rate low? Because we're running a debug build and the game isn't done. Like, I didn't think it would be that much louder. I was just talking directly into the mic, so. Do I think the artist would be interested in streaming? I don't want to stream too much about this game. Like I stream it, but I tend to be very careful what we reveal. And the more people who stream it, the more we're going to be revealing. So, yeah. All right. Well, we fixed this. So the next thing to do is run a Benny test. Well, the next thing to do is check in, and then we'll run a Benny test. The problem is, um, because the audio guys are doing stuff and they're using a different way of authoring, the Benny test doesn't play music right now, which is not good. Let's see if we can real fast figure out. I think we can just do this. And let's make a release build. Uh-oh. All right, so not everything. So not everything is encapsulated that way. I guess we'll just try this. Okay, we'll do it in there. Yeah. Just we're missing one little thing. I don't know if it's going to run correctly because I've never tried doing this. Do we use any kind of audio middleware? Yeah, we're using WWise right now, but it's just because the audio guys want to do it. I would strongly prefer not to use that stuff. So we're probably going to have to replace it later in the lifetime of the game, unfortunately. All right. So let's try. First of all, let's see. Well, we're not playing any sounds now, which is not great. What if we Benny test? We don't frickin' play any sounds. What the fuck? All right, well, that's fine. So we're just going to let this run for a while. And this is just going and testing all the levels, many of which will fail for because some of the tests are time dependent and we changed all the timing when we changed the movement system. However, probably some tests are failing for other reasons as well. And so we want just a list of errors and stuff that might be happening, and then we'll look at what to do. And let's just turn this test rate up pretty high so that hopefully, there we go. We will get a lot of fails. I don't know how many. I would guess around 80 fails, 80, maybe even more. We'll see what happens. WWise, eventually do you want to use something in-house or competitor? No, in-house. All our previous games used in-house sound systems, and that would just be the preference into the future. It's just that the audio guys that we're working with, we don't have a good sound system with a good interface for content people on this engine, and we don't want to delay the game to build that. And the people we're working with want to use WWise, so we're doing that. But I hate that crap. I would much rather do it straightforward. What about Miles? I mean, Miles would be better, but I don't. It's just not the kind of thing we do usually. Oh, I haven't seen that level yet. That looked good. What kind of music will the game use? We are still developing the sound. It probably won't have songs for the most part, right? But it'll have musicality to the background sound environment, if that makes any sense. You don't understand why sound designers like WI is so tedious to use. I don't actually know. I've never used it, but part of it is just if that's what you know, that's what you know. um, part of it might just be, you know, the way it does specific things might be hard to do in other scenarios. I don't know. Kind of like The Witness. No, I mean, The Witness just had natural sounds, period. This game will have more like music, but not songs. Can the Benny test go faster? Well, for some reason, I think the main bottleneck is that for some reason, playing animations takes a lot of time. I'm not sure why. I haven't gone. What I really should do is profile a Benny test, right? Like run telemetry mode and do a Benny test and just see what takes the bulk of the time. But my first priority, way before doing that, is just to get the game back into shape where very few levels are broken and they're all passing tests. And we are not there today. So will this game have a story and dialogues or only puzzle based? I mean, it'll have a story, like a light story. It won't be like Uncharted 2 or whatever. Will you see current game this year? We had something that we were going to announce very soon. And because of coronavirus, the event that we were going to announce at got canceled. So we have an announcement to make and need to figure out how to make that announcement. When we fixed Wizard's mirror teleport direction, did we also change the direction of the thing being swapped with? No. Whether that direction should change or not is a gameplay decision. I think it's more interesting if it's asymmetric and it doesn't rotate, but who knows, that might change. Are we announcing our announcement? Maybe. No, we can't do the announcement here in stream. I don't know, maybe, but there is an announcement that we will announce at some point in the future, but not today. No announcement today. I actually do have an announcement today. It's that I'm going to make some Bengal spice tea and have a peppermint chocolate bar. Are there any questions about what we're working on in the game here? What is the change that causes so many tests to fail currently? I am not sure. All I know is it was around 30 and then it was around 80. And I'm not exactly sure. So that's part of what we're going to be looking at today, probably. Seems like the movement system is close to fixed. What is left to do? Well, the Bard charming people, that has to get updated. That's really old and broken. Apart from that, I don't exactly know. I'm pretty sure there's some stuff that won't be right, especially involving maybe complicated systems of like walking around on lily pads while there are objects on them or something. So we just need to look at what those are. Am I looking forward to releasing the language so people will stop bugging me about it? No, because more people are going to bug me about other things as soon as I do that. Like, I just want people to stop bugging me. BFG Division Chai when? Oh, it could happen. Any ETA for this game? No, this game is too far out. This game will not come out in 2020. Let's put it that way. Has the beta been going well? It's been going well, but I've been busy, so I haven't got off my butt and added more people to the beta. I need to do that. Did the predicted movement for time things like lily pads work out well? It's worked out well for what we've used it for so far. The question is there going to be a problem when we try to get like to 100% good, which we haven't tried to do yet, so we'll see. Will the game be out in 2030? It'll be out before 2030. Any pro tips for a technical game designer applying for a system design position? Make sure you've designed systems before that actually function as good systems and have those to demonstrate. Did I catch Casey's pre-stream? No, I missed it. Where's Winnie the Pooh? I can't find him. Oh, here he is. Here he is. All right. So, our test finished. All right. Let's see what the damage is. $74. We should have taken bets, but we didn't. All right. So we were at 32 some time ago. Now we're at 74. I'm not quite yet going to stress over which of these are failing. At some point, we'll just go through each of these and say, why is it failing? Maybe it's just timing, whatever. A lot of these are probably just timing. But first, I want to go through the log and look for errors in the transaction system. Okay, this unable to cancel a previous transaction, that is important. That could cause a fail, so we're going to want to debug that. Let me just put this at the top. I'm going to delete all these old ones that were things I was looking into. So that's in this level, and it's this error. Double move, same transaction. Those are bad. Those are animation errors. We don't care about those. This seems bad. So we're going to want to deal with that. That might just be on level load. We might do this one first, because if this level was saved this way for some reason, we could fix it. Okay, Death by Rover has these problems. And swap place. This is probably enough. After we fix these, we could run another Benny test and see, like this one has a bunch of what's probably the same error. It's got the same error message. So maybe it's the same problem. It could be a different problem. So we fix it and then try again. Let me just, like, broken entity data is probably also easy to fix. So let's do that. All right, that's probably enough. I'm seeing, oh. Wait, why does it think this is weird? Okay, we're going to do these. This is enough. This is weird because inanimates are not supposed to have to be at a non-integer position, so it thinks this is a gameplay object. It's probably marked snapped to grid or something. All right, let's see. So this is object 3230. That's this random ass water thing. It says not snap to grid. Is mounted. So under what conditions do we print that message? Maybe fix up. If entity is for gameplay. Wait, what? Oh, it's in moving entities array because it's mounted. Let me see. I guess. Let's try this. Entity flags, what is it? If it's mounted, otherwise. So we're just going to log something either way. Log print error. Loading entity, whatever. And inanimate is flagged as is mounted. That's probably not good. Except I guess maybe it is. I don't, we actually need to think about what the policy is on mounting stuff. I'm just going to make a note instead of an error message. Okay. So I'm just going to reload that level. And we're going to see if we still get that error message. We don't. So, yeah, that was just a straightforward thinking that this entity was a gameplay object when it wasn't. We're going to turn off that flag, but yeah. Okay, fine. What's going on with my Emacs, man? So we're going to get rid of this one. We're going to look at this other level. Yes, this editor is a custom thing. It is a custom thing. Okay, so when we loaded this, we got doors not at integer position, and that is probably, I mean, I don't know why those were at weird positions, but I think we're just going to save them out as soon as we verify they should exist. So 14,280. That's this. And then 16,249. Yeah. So probably what happened is these probably are in a group. Yeah. So when you move a group right now, see, it's possible to move things by sub-pixel amounts or sub-square amounts, and you don't really want that, and it's a problem in our group system. So I'm gonna have to fix that, but that is an editor problem, and I will fix that later. We are not worried about editor problems right now. We're just trying to get our runtime errors down to 0, because among those are the transaction errors. So we just saved this level out, and now we shouldn't get errors if we load it up again, because those were saved out at integer positions now. So if I say level toggle, yeah, we don't have errors now. All right, we're just going to commit those. Tweaks to incorrect data in some levels. Let's not. If you misclick on something, it takes like 5 seconds. Dude, there's like 8 items in this list. Why can't you deal with it? All right. Now what? Why are IDs made from 2 numbers? One of them is a user ID, and one of them is a unique serial number for that user ID. And so the reason why it's structured that way is so that if you're working on a level and somebody else is working on the same level, neither of you will try to make an entity that has the same number because you have different user IDs, right? All right. So, now what? Well, how do you resolve when 2 designers put objects in the same place? You will then have 2 objects in the same place. Sometimes you want that. All right, so we got these. Now we have a stone stopper. So this one, it's another data problem, but this one won't even load. So we have to go into the file and see what's going on. So this is something that a new employee was working on. So there's probably like conflict markers checked into the file. Yeah. So if you just say, hey, conflict resolved, then, you know, now I don't even remember how the hell, I guess I just take these 2 lines. We should actually detect source control conflict markers and say that that's what's up, but whoops. Same thing. All right. So now let's see. Yeah, if you say to the source control system, look, the conflict's resolved, then you end up checking in the file, you know, as it exists, which is not so good. Okay, so this level's obviously in progress. I would not prefer to have the sun this low in the sky and so forth, but whatever. Also, this square right here, it really shouldn't have that big of a bite out of it. That is not good. But it loaded and we didn't get an error. Wait, did we? Hold on. No, we're still failing. Item visual position. Oh, I didn't search down for other conflict markers. We really shouldn't save visual position, honestly. In there, but all right, so if I reset, we reload, and wait, what did I delete? After materials, then we have visual position, then we have, oh, I deleted this line. All right. Okay, I think we loaded it without errors, but just to make sure, we're going to restart the game. What are the numbers next to the FPS readout? Yeah, it's like I think it's like minimum, average, and max over some number of frame histories or something like that. Okay, so we don't any longer get an error loading this level. Running the test, it's debug build, so it's slow for some reason. All right, great. Okay, so now we're starting to get into more serious ones. Let's look at these double move same transaction. I have a feeling, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn on stack dumps. Going to turn those on. And then what level do we want? We want build platform v2. So we're going to put that in our file to start, because we'll probably load it many times. It's an old breakpoint that we left in. What does the entity file mean? It's the same strange file format. Will it be made binary later on? Yes, it'll be binary in the shipping game. But again, when you're working on the game, you want your file to be text, because that way it could work with source control. Multiple people can edit the file at the same time, as long as they don't, try to change the same fields. There are many reasons to have the format be text. Any plans on how the transitions from level to level will be? That stuff's later. Later. Okay. So I guess I'll set a breakpoint at the actual error we are looking for, which is double move same transaction. And we're just going to do this, and then we're going to run the test, and we should hit that. Okay. So it's a support move. That's weird, because I'm not sure why we would have a support move on this level. Like, nothing is riding on anything else. That's weird. But I probably have information about where that happened. because I turn on the stack dump. So actually, no, it's this one. Let's see what, okay. Let me just check what the other transaction is first. So we have this other move in this, it's a teleport. So, oh, no, it is, I see. So the Bard is teleporting a rock along the beam. This picture that you're seeing is probably a couple frames behind. And then why there's a support move, it's probably because, it's probably these two crystals are stacked on top of each other, and then the Bard is telling them both to go south. So one will move straight south and the other will teleport, right? If that's the problem, we would actually be able to reproduce that in a simpler level. So why are we adding a support move when we are teleporting? Like this object is already teleporting, and we're also adding it. That seems weird, but maybe it makes sense. So add breaths first support moves is a thing that we do always when we close a transaction, right? Okay, so the question is, why is this a support? Why are we? Okay. So we get an array of moves in here. Singles. It's got two things. So we're saying, look, we're trying to move this object. Let's look at what the move is. We're trying to do a support move. So that was already decided before we got here. So that happened here. See, here we say if this guy is already in this transaction, don't add one. Oh, but here we're just finding a support move. And that's really not what we want. This is hairy. I mean, basically, we just want to say if this guy has anything in the transaction at all. Okay, we're just going to change this. And the reason I say this is hairy, it's hard to think about all the gameplay cases that might happen and like, what are we breaking some other level when we do this? But whatever. So we want to do instead for for everything in the single moves, if other.entity ID is equal to e.entity ID, continue e. So we want to continue not this for loop, but this outer loop. And let's just see if we get that error again. I'm not running in the debugger this time, so we won't break if we get it, but well, it doesn't look like we got it. We solved the level and we didn't get that error. So great. Now, did we break something else? I don't know. I feel like maybe not. I feel like the reason this was written this way was because as I was writing the new transaction system, I was just figuring stuff out, right? So maybe that just is figured out now. Okay. So what we're going to do is just run another Benny test eventually and see if we broke anything with that. So that would have affected probably most barred levels, of which there is, there's a fair number. Maybe not, I don't know, not most, but some barred levels. All right, let's see this one. We want to break at unable to cancel a previous transaction. There. Okay. Whoops, sorry, we want to go to this other level, 2 lilies 0. All right. Unable to cancel a previous transaction. This is like a dragon teleporting, I guess. I mean, this is... I mean, it's hard to know what I'm looking at here. What is the movement type? Linear interpolation. So we do have this stack trace. Let me put a no check in here. We don't want to enable this for everybody, but this move, I have the stack of where it was created, just saved on my data structure, because that's a thing that we do. Simulate Sokoban, do drown, add move. So we call do drown, which is what syncs in object. Do we have the entity available here? Just the ID. We could look it up in the level if we want to know, but okay, so the problem here I guess we're trying to do a teleport. I don't know. Okay, anyway. So what this basically says is we're selectively canceling other transaction pieces when something new happens. And that failed. Why? Under what cases can that fail? I don't remember that function at all. There probably was a fall. So basically, okay, this is a transaction system, the point of which is to keep the gameplay rules well-defined and consistent and enforced. And so canceling a portion of a transaction is a dicey maneuver. And so we're only allowing ourselves to do it in select situations. So what we're saying is, oh, the situation that we have is not one of those select situations. So really what I'm going to do to aid with debugging here, this is just a trick that happens all the time. I'm just going to repaste this line and do this call again. Because we don't want to put the breakpoint here because this might succeed a lot. But if we put the breakpoint here, whoops, there, we know it failed because we're inside the if statement that it failed, but then we're just going to do it again. Right? And so if we didn't change any global state in a bad way, we will see why it failed. This is a trick that I use very often. I need to put something in the FAQ saying, don't ask me if there's been feedback from beta testers. Of course I'm talking to beta testers. Like, I don't understand why everybody wants to ask that question. Like, it doesn't... I don't like feedback. I don't like the idea of feedback. In certain contexts, feedback is fine. I don't know. It's just a question that really bothers me. So, and everybody asks it all the time, and I'm like, what's going on? What do people think? I mean, is this my poetry club? Like, what do you think is going on? Your debugging trick is print statements. Well, that works too. All right, so we're in here. We're going to see why it fails. So we need to get to the one that is this entity ID. There we go. So this is a move, and we can look at it. It's stationary. Okay, well, I mean, that should be fine as well. I don't know why I didn't include that. All right, so $10.52. So stationary is just a thing that we use to give a pause when there's like an animation or something, right? If single.moveinfo.move type is stationary. That is the easiest thing. I probably wrote this code before there was a stationary. No. Am I done playing Alex? Yeah, there's no reason to play it again. No, I'm done. Feedback can be unstable outside the unit circle. That is true. You got to be careful about that. All right. Well, now we didn't get that error. So I'm not sure if that would cause a gameplay problem or not. So I'm not sure if we actually fixed anything or just silenced an error. Either way, it's fine. We made progress either way. So now let's go to death by rover, and I suspect we may not get this one anymore, or we may. Either way, we find out more. We make progress. Did I finish, Alex? Yes. You can go back and look at the VOD. You may try to put up an early access of what? I missed that part of the conversation. And I can't scroll back because it's frickin' Twitch. And it pops me to the bottom every single time. I can't read the history. Oh well, rip. Oh, the C course, okay. Is there supposed to be an else? Oh, good point. It actually, there is supposed to be. It actually doesn't matter in this case, semantically, but yeah, we really should put one there. Thanks for pointing that out. Because all that does is turn this from an else into actually both these things could happen, but they're all doing the same thing, and it doesn't matter if two of them happen or one happens. All right. So this was another level that was giving us errors. Oh, and we got here again. We got remove completed. Okay, this is our, oh, you know what? I forgot to put a no check-in on this. And I don't want to save it because Visual Studio will freak out. But we have to remove that. Remind me to remove that after we fix this version of the problem. Or to at least put a no check-in on it. Okay, so we need to find the move. That's this entity ID, which is this one. And what is it? It's a teleport. It's a teleport that hasn't happened yet. So, okay, this is a weird thing, right? This is kind of what you get from having a transaction system that's trying to actually be strong about things, is that when problems arise, you actually see the problem instead of it just like mushily happening and you have no problem. So here's the deal. This rover, which is the blue bucket thing at the bottom, is sort of traveling back and forth, right, across the screen or in its 3 squares. And it's moving on a timer, right? The wizard has just teleported with the rover. Now, the time that the teleport takes like cuts the interval of the rover's motion. Like it would be trying to move during the teleport. And so the question is, what do we do? Are rovers frozen if they're being teleported? Do they move after the teleport? Do they like start moving before the teleport, but then their move gets translated? That wouldn't make sense here because he would start moving into an open space and then teleport and sort of be moving into a wall, which we don't really want. The wizard needs food. The wizard doesn't need food. He's got enough of a belly. He remembers all those old days from needing food badly and has compensated for that. You can see moving and teleporting at the same time, putting stuff in walls often. Yeah, and you just don't want to do that. So the thing is, I'm not sure what the policy should be, though. Should it detect that it's being teleported and not move at that time and like skip a move? That sounds reasonable to me. Because we also do that with skipping stones and stuff. They sort of like, you know, float for a second before they keep going. Maybe we'll take that out, but that's a thing. Now, if it skips a move, if a move happens during a teleport, what if, I mean, what if it's being pushed, right? It probably should move. So is a push really that different from a teleport? In this case, no. Maybe it should look at the transactions, know that it's going to be moved. Okay, this is where things get weird. This is where the transaction system gets funny, right? So we can realize that the move would happen during an uncompleted teleport, and we can nudge it to happen later. We can nudge the transaction to commit later in time than it normally would in order to make everything resolve. And that is within our power. The weird thing is that all rovers move in lockstep. So if you have a level with 8 of these, they all coordinate with each other about what square they're going in so that, you know, they have a quite complex way of moving. And you don't want to delay one of them with respect to the others, because then that would be weird. That's not how these objects work. So then you would change the commit time for all of them, which is probably fine, maybe. You would have to have a ton of real-time stuff happening for that to be a noticeable problem, I think. But it is one of those things where you're like, I don't know, man. If there's like another rover all the way across the level, I'm changing the commit time for both of these at the same... Rust is on soft man until their advocates stop being dicks all the time. I agree with that. Like, dude, even the D people were being dicks, and they're not remotely as bad as the Rust people. So, look, when I pull this programming language out of beta, there's going to have to be some kind of very clear policy that you don't be a dick about the language. You don't tell other people how they should use it. You don't assume that you know better than other people. Like, I don't know. Like, that should be the community guidelines, right? It shouldn't be about, you know, I don't know. Like, there's definitely room for a community guidelines that actually says what really needs to happen. Yeah, or it could be a Fight Club situation. That is true. Is the same bug reproducible with a push instead of a teleport? It probably is, yes. But the thing is, this level already has the timing set up in an automated test, so I don't need to do anything weird to make this happen. Whereas trying to make a new thing with a push at the right time, I'm over it. Do 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 do. All right, so my two basic options are make the transaction time happen later, or don't make this particular rover move. The problem is maybe it's not a problem. So let's actually look at the data and verify that my understanding of the problem is correct before I go start doing a solution, right? Because one of the worst things you can do is think you know what's going on and not actually know what's going on. That can lead to hours of confusion. So this is the move we're trying to cancel, right? It's a teleport, as we saw. It is a member of some transaction, and that transaction has a commit time of 33.4, which is just, you know, how many seconds into the level we are, right? Transaction ID 61. So now we are trying to close some transaction ID happening at 33.37. So just before that, and that's our rover move, transaction ID 62. So we literally only need to delay this transaction commit by like 0.04 seconds in order to make it work. And that's pretty short. Like, you know, it's not that short, but it's like, you know, it's like you could say a standard time to move from square to square is about 0.2 seconds. So 0.04 is about 1/5 of that. Although the transaction time is usually at about half that. So it's about 0.1. So you'd be moving it from 0.1 to 0.14, which actually is 40% of the way from when it happened till the end of the transaction. However, that's still fine. Why are the two times swapped? Because the time chosen for the transaction commit by default is just the midpoint, right? Because you assume, look, I'm issuing some move from one square to another. About when do I cross the line between the squares? Well, it's probably about half the time, right? Actually, for some more complex moves, like if we use an accelerating controller and stuff, we run a simple simulated version of the controller first to figure out when you would cross the line, right? Or actually also to figure out how long it is. But for something like rover moves, we don't do that right now. They don't accelerate, they're just linear. So, you know, if you issue a transaction that's fast and then issue a transaction that's slow, well, actually, no. I mean, if you issue, even if two transactions take the same amount of time, if you issued the teleport first and then the move, even if they're the same, because the teleport got requested first, its commit time would be earlier anyway. Like, that's just sort of what you expect. It's not really reversed. So I mean, we verified that we understand the situation. Um, my inclination is to delay the commit time to the latest required one, and that would work for both pushing and it wouldn't work for okay. The problem is, because rovers have this coordinated move system, we need to look at where we're going to be. Like if we decide to delay our commit time till after some other transaction happens, we need to know that we're going to be in that square instead of where we currently are, right? And so basically there needs to be a pre-pass that says, okay, first, for all the rovers, see if any of them are in a transaction that is going to move them anytime soon. Before, well, by anytime soon, we mean before our default commit time. If so, we move the commit time later, but also make note of what our position is going to be at that time. And I kind of don't think I have infrastructure for these things right now. And I kind of feel like ending the stream because it's just been distracting. Like I want to work on stuff seriously, and there's a bunch of rando questions happening, and I just don't like it. So I think we're going to end the stream here. We got some useful things done, but I'm going to work on this off stream, and we'll come back later, maybe tomorrow, and do I don't know. We'll probably be trying to take down the number of levels here, because there's 74 that are failing. We probably fixed a couple fails. So we probably have still at least 70 fails. So, it's not Twitch chat's fault. It's just, this is something that I'm contending with lately, is just like the internet in general just annoys me more and more. And it's not anybody's fault on the internet necessarily. It's just the ways, the way Twitch chat works, it's just a bunch of little throwaway messages, right? It's not designed to be like deep and thoughtful. And so the medium encourages low quality abrasive communication, which you'll know if the Counter-Strike tournament is still happening, right? Is there still a game going? No. But if you go into that channel and see what the chat is like when there's more people, it's like, yeah, this is the natural like eigenvector of Twitch chat. And this channel is way, way better than most channels, honestly. Like people have been asking things that are mostly about programming or stuff like that. It's just it's for me, it's just when people ask the same question that I would end up answering like 5 times a day, and it's on something other than what I'm trying to do, it takes my mind off what I'm trying to do, and there's no way to control for that. And so it ends up just distracting me, and I don't get deep concentrated work done, even though if people are asking about the programming language or whatever, it's like, that is kind of relevant. It's not relevant to what we're doing right now, but it's something they want to know about, something that's a relatively serious topic. So I don't know what to do about that, but maybe I just have to start ignoring chat. But if I ignore chat, then we don't have good interactivity about what we're actually doing. So I don't know. Maybe what I should try to do is another pair programming thing like I did with Casey last week. I think that was even last weekend or something. Time has flown. Maybe I should do another one with Casey sometime, or maybe I should do one with like Sean or other Sean or somebody. Like, I feel like that kind of a thing has value for people and they appreciate it. Um, Casey says he's down anytime. Yeah, well, why don't Casey, how about this? If you have any potential ideas for topics about this game that you would be interested in doing that on, or about the compiler, right? Um, or if I think of one, like we could message one back and forth and then do it. Because the fact that that was about a specific topic really helped focus it, right? I mean, even though we ended up going off on side paths, we always, we started somewhere good and, kept coming back to it. It was, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, this was a stream last week, which started with me just trying to solve an animation problem. And then Casey messaged and said, hey, why don't you do this? And then we ended up talking about the animation system generally, which I think is educational for people. It's probably more educational than watching me just sit here and program while trying not to get distracted by Twitch chat, right? That's on YouTube right now. If you go to my channel, if I go to how do I go to, not paid memberships, my channel, videos, this one. So animation, language design, understandable code, productivity. So this isn't even the whole discussion because I took off all the ranting about social media off here, but it's about 2 hours of talking about serious programming topics in a way that's usually more focused than what we typically do. So that could be good for people. You would love to do one on the parser because you think I get parsers and nobody else does. We could do that. Let's pick a time then and do that with the caveat that honestly, my parser is not anything special. And in fact, it's not actually that good in the sense that there are structural things about it that should be better, but that I don't care right now, So but that's a thing that we could talk about, right? About why I don't totally care how good it is right now and things like that. Because definitely that's a thing that academic people totally rat hole on, right? Because it's one of the most formally definable parts of compilers. Yeah. So let's pick a time offline and then we could do that. I think that'll be fun. It'll probably also get me lots of hate mail from academic people, but I think that would be very informative because the other thing about parsers is people are kind of mystified by them in some sense because they're cool in some sense because it's like, oh, this is like the thing that understands the text, right? It's the thing that turns the text into something that you could do things with somehow, right? And people who don't have experience in the topic don't really know how that works, but they also think it's a bigger deal than it is because they don't know how it works. And it's really actually a very small deal. It's really not. Okay, so we'll do that. That sounds like a good plan. Meanwhile, I'm going to go lift, and thanks everybody for coming by. Since I'm cutting off the stream a little bit early because I'm not in a streaming mood, let's see if there's someone that we could host. We could host Half-Life Alex. Science. Wait, it said science. I hate it when there's like a top suggestion, right? And then I type S because I was thinking of that anyway, and I get a bunch of garbage. Like, no, it was right there. Give me the thing that was right there. Okay. Fabian was playing Arkham. I would rather host some programming. Although I guess there's a Twitch dating channel and that's science and technology now. I don't know. She looks like she's very uninterested in dating people, so it is what it is. Let's see, what good programming is happening? Let's make a Commodore 64 game. Episode 28. I don't know, is anyone following this? Is it good? Remember the delete no check-in. Oh, thank you. Okay. Let me go do that. Where was that? That was here. Okay. Thank you. See, Twitch chat does help. There just needs to be a programming channel. All right, are we doing Commodore 64? Let's take a sneak peek.
And it looks really good. I'm impressed. I mean, you've literally had that.
Yeah, I mean he's got assembly on his
2-3
screen,
days
so that's good
at
enough.
most. And you've made some really good progress there. So very pleased with that. That's good.
Thanks for everyone for coming by, and I'll see you later.
So yeah, look forward to seeing that soon as well. So I think it works really well as a Windows game. I'm glad that you managed to work out the level format as well.